Hey, it's Jason. It's been 1 month since the iPhone 16 was released to the public, and my initial thoughts on the phone weren't that good, mainly because at the time the phone was strikingly similar with the previous models, minus some new distracting but nice colors, a trick that Apple plays on consumers a bit too often these days. But the main reason for my criticism was the fact that access to Apple Intelligence, Apple's new homegrown AI suite, was the main selling point to why everyone should go out and buy this phone, and it didn't ship with any Apple Intelligence features actually toggled on. Well, 1 month later, we finally have the iOS 18.1 release that officially rolls out Apple Intelligence to the iPhone 16 users, so I thought it'd be a good time to revisit this phone to talk about how my experience has been so far. But real quick, if you're new here, I make videos on consumer tech to help make sure that you're as informed as possible, so please take a quick second to press the like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already. Also, I get a ton of asks on where I get the wallpapers from my phones. If you guys want them, make sure to sign up for the JSL newsletter. I send subscribers out full-res wallpapers every week, as well as really good tech deals and other fun stuff, so link to subscribe will be in the description down below. So first, let's talk about how my general non-AI use has been with the iPhone 16 1 month later, with a special focus on some new additions Apple threw in. From a day-to-day perspective, the iPhone 16 has been quite familiar as to be expected. The form factor is nearly identical with last year's iPhone 15 and has the same DNA as the last 4 iPhones that came before it. Now, I'm still a huge fan of this new teal color. I love how saturated and deep the colors are compared to last year, and I love how the non-Pro iPhone has a matte finish to the frame as well as frosted glass on the back. It makes for a really clean modern look. Now, in order to not make this a total clone of last year's phone, Apple did add 2 new additions to the iPhone 16, starting with the action button. Now, this isn't new because it was introduced with last year's iPhone 15 Pro lineup. It's essentially a custom button that has taken over the old mute switch and can be mapped to engage a variety of different functions. I remember when this first came out thinking it was a total gimmick, but after realizing that you can map the action button to an Apple shortcut, it totally piqued my interest. I drive a Tesla, and it's not uncommon for the use your phone as your key Bluetooth thing to fail, so I mapped my action button to unlock my car, kind of like a key fob, and it's super convenient. Depending on how creative you want to get, there's a lot of interesting things that you can map this button to, and 1 month later, I think this is a solid addition to the iPhone 16. Now, the real new feature to come to this phone is the new camera control, a physical button on the frame that engages the camera app and a multitude of camera features, and I'm just gonna say it, 1 month later, I think this feature is kind of worthless. Don't get me wrong, it's a very technologically advanced addition. The button is able to identify physical pushes as well as touch capacitive force gestures, which is quite impressive, and it's beautifully integrated into the software as well. But I've tried to use this for the past month, and I unfortunately feel more frustrated by it more than anything else. First of all, it's positioned in a place where using it feels cumbersome, especially in portrait mode. And what I found is that if you try and actually snap a photo one-handed, you're way more prone to camera shake because of its awkward positioning. And even though I am impressed at the camera control's capability, this is a perfect example of something being over-engineered. Finding that perfect half press to engage the camera features is not easy, and neither is scrolling through the small menu with the little surface area that you have. At the end of the day, using the camera app is so much simpler to do, and it's not like it was hard to access it in the first place, which ultimately makes this whole addition a question mark on why Apple decided to even do this. Now, another key part of day-to-day use is battery performance, and I'm happy to say 1 month later, the battery life on the iPhone 16 Pro has been great. I'm getting around 7 hours of screen on time on a full charge. It's enough to get me through a day of moderate use, but it can start to get a bit sporty if I'm gaming or watching a ton of videos, especially if I'm in a remote location. But this is where channel sponsor Anker comes in to save the day, especially as Black Friday is right around the corner. This is the Anker SOLIX F2000, an absolutely beastly portable power station that offers probably the best energy solution for today's regular consumers. This thing packs an insane 2,048 watt-hours of energy that could easily be taken with you on camping trips, out on the job, or kept at home for unexpected blackouts. And despite this having enough power to literally juice up an RV, it's still compact enough to easily fit in the trunk of your car, and it has a built-in wheel and retractable handle, so you can move this thing around essentially essentially like you would a piece of luggage. It comes with a total of 12 ports, including 4 20-amp AC ports, 2 12-volt car sockets, which is great as most portable power stations only come with one. You get 3 USB Type-C charging ports that all output 100 watts max, and 2 USB-A ports for a total of 5. And I wasn't joking about this being able to power an RV, as it has a TT 30-amp RV port, and as the SOLIX F2000 can output a whopping 2400 watts of energy, it has the ability to comfortably power your more power-heavy duty electronics. It also comes in with a built-in light bar that is surprisingly handy, and you can monitor all the F2000's activities through the screen here. And really, the combination of portability and strength of this unit really makes it the Goldilocks companion for taking this with you on the go. It can keep my iPhone 16 powered for days upon days, and it can handle powering the other items I usually bring with me when I'm out on a camping trip like it's a total walk in the park. And what's great about the F2000 is that it's a lithium iron phosphate battery pack. LFP batteries are way more efficient than nickel-based batteries, and this unit can essentially be charged to 100% every day for 10 years and still have around 80% of its original capacity, and it has a 5-year warranty. Plus, it can charge crazy fast with Anker's rapid recharge, as it can go from 0 to 80% in just 1 hour. The F2000 is also able to recharge using solar panels. It can take up to 1000 watts of solar energy, which is fantastic if you're outside often. And everything you do with the F2000 can easily be controlled seamlessly through the Anker app. This is just one of those things that I feel everyone should have in their house, as it comes in way handier than you would think. And with Anker providing some significant discounts for Black Friday, there's really no better time than now to jump on these limited time deals. Use the links in the description to get the most up-to-date pricing, get access to the power when and where you need it. Check out Anker today. So the main differentiator between the iPhone 16 and the regular iPhones that came before it is supposed to be access to Apple Intelligence. Now, despite Apple aggressively marketing this new set of AI features as the main reason to buy this phone, the iPhone 16 shipped with 0 Apple Intelligence features available, so it was an extremely familiar device for the first few weeks. But now that iOS 18.1 is officially available, Apple Intelligence is finally here for the iPhone 16. Sort of. So iOS 18.1 ushered in some of Apple's new AI features, the more basic ones that are more common across the AI landscape. The more marquee features like the ChatGPT integration and Memoji are slated to come in a future software update. And look, to get right into it, the few weeks that I've had the iPhone 16 with these limited features turned on, much like most AI features on phones today, it was pretty meh, if I'm being honest. I think the most useful features so far have been the writing tools. You get AI-generated quick responses on messages, and you can actually have Apple Intelligence rewrite portions of your writing to make it have that effect that you're looking for. This could be a huge time saver if you're writing emails often, and especially useful for people like me who tend to overthink and overstress how my writing comes off. It's also well integrated into the iOS experience, as you have access to these writing tools through most apps, even third-party ones, and so far it's been working really well. Apple Intelligence also summarizes most of your notifications now, which is convenient when you can only really glance at your phone. Another feature that I found useful is the AI voice recording capability when you're on a call. Apple Intelligence will record the entire conversation and then summarize the call for you. Pretty great if you're on a ton of meetings on your phone and you want essentially a virtual assistant to take notes for you. Now, you also get the ability to erase certain parts of an image in the Photos app, much like the popular Magic Eraser found on Android. The animations are cool, and for the most part it works well, but it's not as accurate as Google's. But where Apple Intelligence really starts to get disappointing is with its updated Siri integration. I mean, let's face it, Siri has been a pretty big letdown for years in the world of voice assistants, and there was a lot of excitement that Apple would finally make this a feature worthwhile with the latest update. And look, now that it's here, I will say that it is slightly better than what Siri was prior to Apple Intelligence, but in many ways it's still pretty lackluster, especially when you compare it to the competition. Now, Apple has made Siri a bit more human-like, and you can choose from a list of different AI voices that sound way better than the OG Siri, but for most prompts, it's really not that conversational. Just listen to the difference between Siri and Google's Gemini for the same prompt. What is quantum physics, and explain it to me like I'm a 5-year-old child?
Quantum physics is a branch of science that studies the behavior of very small particles, such as atoms and electrons.
What is quantum physics, and explain it to me as if I were a 5-year-old child?
Imagine a ball. In our world, the ball can be in your hands or in a box, but not in both places at the same time. Now imagine a tiny magical ball that can be in both places at once.
When you compare the two, Gemini does a significantly better job of listening to what I ask for and delivering what feels like a tailored answer, while Siri just regurgitates verbiage from an article it finds in a Google search. There's also limits to what Siri can do. For example, check out how it responds to this request.
Write an email to my boss letting her know that I'm going to be late and that I'm sorry.
I'm not sure who that is. What's your boss name?
Now see how Gemini manages that request on the Pixel 9 Pro.
Write me a sample email letting my boss know that I'm going to be late tomorrow and that I'm sorry.
Subject: arriving late tomorrow. Hi, boss's name. I'm writing to let you know that I'm going to be late to work tomorrow, due to brief explanation of reason. I apologize for any inconvenience this may cause. I'll keep you updated on my ETA and will do my best to catch up on any missed work. Thanks for your understanding. Best.
So for the here and now, Siri unfortunately is still a noticeably less enjoyable smart assistant compared to what's out there, and I know that Apple is in work to integrate a more advanced AI chatbot into iOS, but Apple Intelligence as a whole has been pretty underwhelming up to this point. And considering that the other upgrades that came with the iPhone 16 are also pretty minor, it kind of begs the question on whether or not this phone is worth it 1 month later. And the answer to that will very much depend on which phone you're coming from. I think if you have an iPhone 13 or up that is working fine, upgrading to the iPhone 16 is going to feel very familiar. Yes, you won't have access to Apple Intelligence, but you're really not missing out on much right now, so it might be a good idea to wait and see what features get added in the future before taking the plunge. Now, if you're on an older iPhone, the iPhone 16 will offer enough minor upgrades to make the jump worth it, as it's a solid phone generally speaking. If you can thug it out though, it might be worthwhile to wait until next year's iPhone 17 to see what larger upgrades make their way to users. But hey, that's just me, and I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about the iPhone 16 1 month later? Do you think it's pretty disappointing like me? Or do you think it's a great phone? Curious to get your thoughts. Let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments down below. And in case you guys missed the review of the iPhone 16 Pro versus the Pixel 9 Pro, check it out here. You're not going to want to miss it.